Good evening, everybody. We're back with another deep dive into the bass gang. Fix my hair a little bit. Today we're looking at Bobby's arrangement of Iris by Goo Goo Dolls, featuring Melinda Catherine Reese, viral on TikTok, and a frequent collaborator with Bobby. So this is a very fitting collaboration for the bass gang for Bobby's arrangement. So let's get into it. This is a little bit more technical than Mad World or Iris, which I analyzed previously. So I got on my keyboard, or be testing my ear after not having been in my ear training class for a little while. So we'll see how it goes. Let's get right into it. Let's see back at the beginning.
And I'd give up forever to touch you, 'cause I know that you feel me somehow. You're the closest to heaven that I'll ever be, and I don't wanna go home right now.
So with this intro, we get a little bit of an introduction to the vocal timbre of Melinda, and we're about to see how she'll fit in with the group when the rest of them start coming in. But right off the bat, we just get this perfect reverb effect on her voice that creates such an ethereal tone, and it's a really good way to open the piece because we don't have much going on. All it is our featured soloist. So it's a really pretty subtle way to open the piece, and it can only build from here.
And all I can taste is this moment, and all I can breathe is your life, and sooner or later it's over.
I just don't wanna miss you tonight.
So I'm going to try not to go too crazy with the harmonic analysis of this piece. Generally, what we have is the switch from the dominant chord, which is the root. So we're in the key of D major for the song, meaning the dominant chord, this is the tonic chord. It's my bad. The tonic chord is what we keep hanging on, and that's D. So usually you hang on the tonic of the piece. That's what you always want to resolve to. And this also takes heavy advantage of the subdominant, which is the fourth tone of the scale. So the key of D, that would be G, D, E, F sharp, G. And the chord, the tri we build off of that is G, B, D. So those two chords are kind of having a conversation throughout this piece. And this is especially evident here when this trio comes in. We add Peter later on in the falsetto range. So here, let's back up to where they come in.
And all I can taste is...
So as soon as Tommy comes in with that pickup on the D, and then Bobby and Marwan add to build that D open interval, they go, all I can taste is this moment. On moment, we hear that subdominant, the G chord.
Is this moment,
moment,
and all I can breathe is your life.
get a bit of clashing there, but it's still the same premise.
And sooner or later it's over.
More clashing there. Interestingly, that's tip it down to the minor sixth. Interesting choice. And we get Melinda coming in with that same reverb, that same ethereal effect on that high D. That trails off up into there. The clashes in this create, like, the dissonance is just so complicated. It creates such a pretty effect for the piece. And I could spend all day talking about the harmonic brilliance, but let's just say hats off to Bobby for the time being.
And all I can breathe is your life, and sooner or later it's over.
I just don't wanna miss you tonight,
And I don't want the world to see me.
There's a real clear example of our tonic to subdominant. Also, this octave, that octave between Peter and Melinda really good intonation and really good mixing of the voices to get them sounding ideal together. Not that they wouldn't automatically. I'm just saying that's like it's talent. It's talented mixing. I don't think Bobby did the mixing. It was Johnny Stewart, I think, did the mix for this, who sings with Bobby and the Wellerman group. So that's excellent for him. He did a really good job mixing the piece. Beautiful octave with Peter and Melinda here.
'Cause I don't think that they'd understand when everything's made to be broken. I just want
That dissonance there. Clashing the lead tone with the tonic.
everything's made to be broken. I just want you to know who I am.
So let's take a break from harmonics for a second and talk about the arrangement in terms of characterization of the voices. Now this is the bass gang we're listening to, so a lot of their music thus far has been really, really low. Got a lot of E1s down to C1s from Marwan's arrangement of Centuries. Pretty sick C1s from Tommy's arrangement of Mad World. Peter, which we haven't gone to yet, some D flat ones and background vocals and stuff. Bobby's arrangement does not focus very heavily on the bass, and I think he could have only done that on purpose, naturally. Right now they're singing like the third octave. That's neither high nor low. Any male voice can sing that with significant comfort. You'll hear them singing a lot higher later, but the reason I mention this is that what we have here in the background is I'm sorry. I hit too far. What we have here in the background is a very subtle G1 sub from Bobby. You really have to listen for it. So anything super bassy that's happening is usually hidden in the background because it's Bobby's arrangement decision to make this a feature for their upper ranges. And I think that's a really good decision. It kind of stretches the ability of the group a little bit and shows us as the audience what this group can do. So I have no reason to complain about this. I think it's a really, really good and creative establishment of the group's ability from Bobby. So hats off once again.
And you can't find the tears that ain't coming. All the moment of truth in your lies. When everything feels like the movies. Yeah, you bleed just to know you're alive. And
that's probably the bassiest thing we get. That B-A-G and chest voice from Bobby in the background there. But this is kind of where we start to see him take the mantle with that upper kind of like mixed high chest voice up to that F sharp there. So really nice. What else was gonna come on? That's my bad. Let me go back and find it.
when everything feels like the moon
Alright, I got it. Okay, here we go.
ain't coming. All the moment of truth in your lies. When
So if you listen closely, particularly with headphones, what you hear in the background of the piece, behind the soloists and even the background harmonizing vocals, is these little arpeggios. I can't tell. I don't have the ear to pick out exactly what they're doing harmonically, but I want to comment again on the mixing talent that went into that, because they're not audible unless you're listening carefully for them, and I think that's a good decision because they would be a little bit distracting, and it's talent enough for them to get all those pitches and put them together with correct articulations and whatnot, and then to mix them all together into the audio. We do get that a lot. We got some of that in Centuries, which we looked at last week. But this is kind of the most prominent example, I believe, on the album of them using that the arpeggios with the trading off of who's singing what pitch. It's really good stuff.
And you can't find the tears that ain't coming. All the moment of truth in your lies. When everything feels like the movies. Yeah, you bleed just to know you're alive. And I don't want the world to see me, 'cause I don't think that they'd understand. When everything's made to be broken.
So from a vocal performance standpoint, especially with such a low voice, if you're going up to those A4s, he's doing it in kind of like a mix. It's not full chest. That would be impressive. I'm not a true bass. I'm more of like a baritone bass. I've only belted that A4 in chest in full voice twice, so it's not an easy thing to do. I'm not as trained as these guys are, but like I know from experience that high A is not easy. He's doing it in more of like a mixed voice, so it's not full chest, but even still, he has like when it goes down to that like those F sharps or even G's, it sounds like they're more chest dominant. So if he's doing that in full voice, you need a lot of openness in the vocal track, and I think like he's lip syncing. That's what they do to create these music videos. But I think he portrays that pretty well, and you can tell by the way the audio sounds that he has a lot of openness in his sound, and that's not always an easy thing to do. It takes training to be able to get in the mindset of doing that when you have to sing that high, especially for somebody like Bobby who is not paid to sing in that range very often. So it's a really good showcase of his upper range, and I'm glad we get to see it in the song.
I just want you to know who I am.
I wish I had a couple hours to devote to unpacking what's happening in the backgrounds throughout this piece.
I don't think that they don't want to see me, 'cause I don't think that they'd understand.
So what I'm listening for most when I try to pick out the harmonic structure of this is Melinda's voice, because she's the easiest to pick out, being the only female voice. She's also singing ridiculously higher than the male voices, generally speaking.
'Cause I don't think that they'd understand. When everything's made,
We have another low G hitting in the background.
they'd understand. When everything's made to be broken.
So even with this bass line that we have, then it's not super low. But he's getting down to like D2 there.
When everything's made to be broken.
That's it. Sound like a D2, which is low. It's bass range, but it's not super low. So again, we don't want the focus to be on the bass as much for this song. It definitely is a pulling factor that we are featuring a soprano vocalist, which is kind of pulling them up into that higher range. So again, respect for trying something new, not focusing too much on this heavy bass, trying to stretch the vocal ability of the ensemble.
I just want you to know who I am.
Sorry, I haven't done much harmonic analysis of this yet, so I'm kind of playing through a little bit with the keyboard.
I want you to know who I am.
So the easiest thing here to unpack this section, first of all, this is not part of the original song, at least the lyrical aspects of it. So the fact that he's turning this all a cappella and adding these lyrical interludes is a really creative decision for the arrangement. What I'm looking to do more is figure out what's going on harmonically here, though. So this is kind of where I'm going to strap down and try to do that. Let's do it. So that first half of the bridge, we have the bass line in the second octave. And it repeats that line going back up. All the harmonies and dissonances that we have there are built on top of that. So we have a bit of a deviation because somebody's up here staying on that beat. Let's go out on a limb and assume there's a D in there too. Is that it? Okay, you know what? I'm a little bit rusty for this, so I'm not gonna try to go as deep as I would normally. Really interesting stuff. So yeah, what we kind of get there is that repeated B down to the G, that submedian down to the subdominant. There we go. Remembering our names for these scale degrees. Beautiful upper head voice falsetto harmony from Bobby and Peter. I don't know. I'm tired. I'm not gonna find it right now. So the other interesting thing about this bridge section, I feel like I've rambled a little bit this video, so I'm going to try to power through to the end. But the other interesting thing about the bridge in this video and in this arrangement is the fact that we do have that bass line there, and every time we repeat it 4 times, it gets more complicated, or at least the harmonies on top of it get more complicated. So listen through this. Definitely. Every time we go through that repetition of the bass line, we're adding more voices on top of it. So that's a really cool way to build through the bridge. So that's interesting. That's a dominant chord built on top of a G. So that's a dominant chord with the subdominant in the bottom, so that'd be an A over G chord. Okay, so the G hangs over from the previous chord. Okay, so we have a tonic over G, so D over G, that goes down to a D over G, and then they slide down to the dominant, and that G hangs under there, refusing to resolve for the time being. Yeah, okay, so beautiful use of that suspended 4 as we build into this big impact section. And in addition, drawing out those chords and even cutting out this last suspended chord before having a big moment of silence with the ride cymbal building into this big impact, that is just like arrangement 101. So, kudos.
And I don't want the world to see me, 'cause I don't think that they understand. When everything's made to be broken, it's broken.
So this section, they're all doing the higher octave. And it's like I said before, I don't think any of them are doing it in full chest. Maybe Tommy could. Maybe Marwan could. I don't know. I feel like some of them could. Just it'd be very rare for any of them. Yeah, so it sounds like they're doing. It sounds like all four of them are kind of doing more of a mixed timbre to get up there and up to those high A's. And we get most of the harmonic structure from Melinda here because we're trying to feature the tenor range of these guys. Good stuff.
'Cause I don't think that they understand when everything's made to be broken. I just want you to know
That's good use. Now, I haven't paid attention to that for much of the song, but when everything's made to be broken, that callback from the background vocal, that background harmony section, is something I talked about with Centuries and Mad World, how we break the lyrics and put them in the background, sung in a different rhythm. That's a really good way to keep the arrangement fresh and interesting.
understand when everything's made to be broken. I just
So you did All Is Broken in the background there.
want you to know who I am. I just want you to know who I am. I just
It's a busy section there. D6 from Melinda and A4 in full voice from Orwin. So, in theory, if he can get that there, there's a chance he could do that melody section in head voice or full voice. However, if you try to sing like in a belting tone for a really long time, it tires out your voice really quickly. It would take a lot of training to do that, but he could do it. So that's impressive from both of them.
I just want you to know who I am. I just want you to know who I am. I just want you to know who I am.
The original does that 4 times. They only do it 3. Add their own flair, add their own take on it.
I just want you to know who I am.
And I think that's fitting because we kind of build through them.
I just want you to know who I am. I just want you to
So in this first one, Melinda's going. And then the second one, she goes up to that D. And we also get that A from Marlon. So, okay, so yeah. We kind of build in terms of like pitch and resolution through each one. And then I think it's really creative then that this last one doesn't resolve that final chord of the piece.
know who I am. I just want you to know who I am. I just want you to know who I am.
So let's see if we can figure out what's happening there. We have the G from Bobby and chest voice again, the G1. We have the D, obviously. Let's see what's underneath that.
Who I am. I just want you to know who I
Yeah? No? Yeah, no, can't figure it out. Too bread fried. Okay, well, either way. This lack of resolution that builds from the suspension adds so much to kind of like the ethereal tone of the piece that we established right from the get-go with Melinda's intro. All of it works to establish the tone of like ethereal. That's how the piece opens and that's how it concludes. And everything in the middle is just hit you hard. It's like I said, this is the one that gave me chills. I don't know if I said that. when I first listened to the full album, this is the one that gave me chills my first time listening to it. So it kind of started out as my favorite for that reason. It was the one that impacted me the most. And I even had a friend that I showed this to recently. I showed her the whole album, and when this song played, she said, "That was pretty. I want to listen to that one again." So I consider this a huge win for the bass gang and a huge win for Bobby. Like I said, like I've been saying, this is a really, really strong arrangement, really harmonically juicy, really interesting, a lot to unpack that somebody more experienced than me should probably do. In terms of vocal performance too, with all this high registered belting and mixed voice from all four members of the bass gang, and Melinda as well, up there to a D6. Really, really impressive stuff. No complaints. Yeah, so that's it for Iris. We got one more to do. We're gonna do Yellow Flicker Beat next. That's Peter's arrangement. Another absolute fire piece. And I guess that's all for this video. I mean, what else can I say? It's Bobby Bass. Have a good night, y'all.